Hello, class. It is Dr. Jones again. Happy Monday. Last week we did Kalat 1.2 and Think Like a Psychological Scientist. I went through your guys' activities and posts, and everything looks good, honestly. One note, most people's Cornell notes are good and detailed and really cover the most important aspects of their reading. If you don't think yours fits that description, try putting in some more detail. I should get a sense that when we come to our final that is comprehensive, that you'll be able to go back over your notes and actually understand all of the most important concepts. So keep that in mind. Also, I gotta say that you guys did some really good comments on the activity last week. I liked that lots of people didn't just go with oh, I agree that this is falsifiable, but lots of people applied the definition of falsifiable, which is just something that can be tested, something that can be measured. And lots of you were not afraid to say that you disagree, you think that it can't be measured the way that they stated it, or is an opinion or something like that. And so definitely stick with your guns, stick with what makes sense to you, because that's how we're all going to learn and get better. So a few changes going forward. I decided for each week I'm going to make a separate topic for you to upload your Cornell notes, and a separate topic for you doing the activity and the interactions. I think that just in the future, that'll keep things from getting confused. Some people have to make multiple posts to put all of their notes on there, and I just always want it to be clear where people need to go to make their comments. Another really important thing, always upload your stuff to the correct topic. There were some people posting in the help section that wasn't labeled for the things that they were posting about. Some people were posting in the open discussion section. Always make sure that you're checking the topic that you're posting in, and I'm going to label them really clearly, like these are Cornell notes for Kalat 3.1 and 3.2, or these are Cornell notes for this online article. This is where you put your activity assignment for the week. So make sure that you are doing that, because from this moment on, I'm not going to grade anything that's posted in the wrong place. So make sure that you're posting it in the correct place, because you won't get points for posting it in wherever. If I have to look around for it, you're gambling with your points there. Okay. So for this week, your reading is Kalat 3.1 and 3.2. Again, Kalat is the author of our book. It's backwards, but you can see that is our book. And so that's module 3.1 and 3.2. What we're getting into this week is learning about neurons, how they communicate, and how this creates all of our brain activity. This creates all of our thoughts, all of our reactions and stimulants. And so it's really interesting. And so for this week, you are going to have to tap into a little of your visual, spatial learning selves, artistic learning selves, but you don't have to be an amazing artist. Here's the first thing I'm going to have you do. Well, first, I will ask you in your activity to just explain how neurons communicate, explain the action potential. What is that? Next thing that you're going to have to do is draw two neurons and label the dendrites, the soma or the cell body, and the axon. And so again, this doesn't have to be perfect. If you want a reference on how to draw your two neurons, go to page 61 in your book. Oh, I just dropped something. But something like that. It doesn't even have to be that detailed. Let me show you what I'm looking for. So everyone is going to draw something like this. When I'm drawing neurons, I like to start with the cell body. So the cell body is that round thing. And since I'm drawing two, I'll draw another round one around the cell body. It kind of like looks like this. Do that for the other one too. Sorry about my voice, everybody. And you want to have these neurons kind of connecting to each other. And so you see, I have these two neurons. You are going to want to label the soma cell body, the dendrites, and the axon. So make sure you have those labeled there. And so after you have those labeled, your next activity is to go to pages 63 and look at table 3.1. Looks like this. Table 3.1 lists the most important neurotransmitters, what they do and where they are located on the neurons. And then you're going to want to go to page 70 to 71 and table 3.2 that has commonly used drugs and their effects. And so this is what we're learning from this activity. So in 3.2, you're reading about a bunch of drugs that you've heard of before. You're probably familiar with how alcohol affects somebody or how marijuana affects somebody. But what you might be less familiar with is specifically how these things interact with specific neurotransmitters. So what you're going to do with table 3.1 and 3.2 is you are going to take a neurotransmitter. So for example, on page 63 in table 3.1, the first neurotransmitter is glutamate. And it says that this is an excitatory transmitter. One thing to keep in mind, with all of the transmitters, they're talking about something that's either excitatory, meaning that it stimulates something, it makes something happen, or they're inhibitory, meaning they stop something from happening or they slow something down. So keep that in mind in the definitions of all of these. So let's go back to the table. So table 3.1, first you have glutamate. It says it's an excitatory transmitter. So again, that's something that makes something happen, something that stimulates. It's present at most synapses, and it's essential for brain activities, including learning. And so I'm gonna find a synapse, which would be like a place like this where it has these two dendrites coming together. And I'm going to label glutamate. I'm gonna put a positive for it's a stimulant, stimulates like learning and brain activities. So I have that labeled there. Then I'm gonna go to table 3.2. Again, that's on page 70 to 71 of your book. And in 3.2, let me see if I can find another color to draw with. In 3.2, I'm going to find one of the commonly used drugs and their effects, and specifically one that interacts with glutamate, and I'm going to add that to my drawing. So I see this one at the end, I think it's phencyclidine. It is part of PCP, angel dust, and it says it inhibits one type of glutamate. So I'm going to put PCP next to this. Sorry, this marker isn't perfect. PCP inhibits glutamate. And then so I see that like some of the effects would be like intoxication, slurred speech. And if I kind of stand back, I was like, okay, so that makes sense. That if glutamate is something, it's a chemical that helps excite, helps us pay attention maybe, since it's important for learning and brain activities, that PCP is something that keeps us from being able to do that. And so then that contributes to slurred speech and stuff like that. So that process I just did. On your drawing, and this you are going to scan, take a picture, put it on My HSSU. I want you to list at least 10 neurotransmitters and 10 commonly used drugs and put them on your drawing. Obviously, you know, I kind of have a small thing here. So I couldn't fit all 10 on there. Try to fit all 10 in yours. And then when you upload the picture, try to make it so somebody else would be able to read it and see what you put on there. Because your interaction will be to do, to make your comments kind of taking a step back and seeing like, okay, if I see that this drug impacts this neurotransmitter in this way, this explains how people act when they're influenced on alcohol or something like that. So make some sort of connection and use the neurotransmitter and the name of the drug to be able to make your observation. And so you need to do at least 3 of these before the deadline, which will be Friday at 5 p.m. So again, 1, you're going to have the question about how neurons communicate and explaining an action potential. Then you're going to have to draw these 2 neurons. Then you're going to label with at least 10 neurotransmitters and 10 drugs that affect them. When you're labeling, make sure you're putting them in the place that they would be. So glutamate, it says that it's present at most synapses, but maybe a different part might be connected to the soma or might be connected to one of the dendrites or something like that. And so make sure that your drawing is accurate in that way. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be an artist or anything, but you do have to try it. And so you need, after you do all of that, you need to make 3 comments on other people's drawings and illustrations, something that you learn about the interactions between these neurotransmitters and the drugs. So that's what you need for your attendance and your credit for this week. Again, if you have any help, I'm confused moments, I started a whole separate discussion board that's just for help, I'm confused. So please post your questions there. I will be checking it and responding, and if I need to make another video, I will. Again, sorry for my voice that's slowly degraded over this video, but I hope this makes sense. Keep up the good work and have a great week.